Jiho Kim stood in front of the massive doors and took a deep breath. His hands were shaking. Behind those doors was the Galactic Assembly Hall, where he would represent all of humanity for the first time. At 28 years old, he was Earth's youngest diplomat ever sent to space. He was also the shortest person on his team at 5 feet and 6 inches tall. "Remember, Jiho," said Taemin Park, his senior advisor. "Stay calm. Watch how they act. Learn their ways before you speak." Taemin was older and had more experience, but even he looked nervous. Haijin Lee, their team's scientist, checked her tablet one more time. The reports say there are 47 different alien species in there. Some are friendly, some are not. Most of them are much bigger than us. Jiho nodded. He had read all the files during the long trip from Earth. The galaxy was full of different kinds of life. Some looked like giant lizards. Others were made of crystal or metal. Many were hunters who ate other species. Size mattered in space politics. The bigger you were, the more respect you got. The doors opened with a loud sound. Jiho stepped inside and immediately felt very small. The assembly hall was huge. The ceiling was so high that Jiho could barely see it. Rows of seats went up like stairs, getting higher and higher. Each seat was built for a different type of alien. Some seats were tiny for small creatures. Others were enormous for giants. Jiho looked around and saw aliens everywhere. Near the front sat the biggest ones. They had sharp teeth, long claws, and thick skin. Their eyes glowed in the dark. Some had 4 arms. Others had wings or tails, covered in spikes. These were the apex predators, the strongest hunters in the galaxy. In the middle, rows sat medium-sized aliens. They looked less scary, but still much bigger than humans. Some had fur, others had scales, and a few seemed to be made of living stone. At the back in the smallest seats sat the weakest species. They were tiny and looked afraid, kept looking at the big predators with fear in their eyes. "Where do we sit?" Jiho asked quietly. A tall, thin alien with blue skin walked over to them.
What?
It had 4 eyes and spoke in a mechanical voice. "Are the humans? Yes? Your seats are in Section Z, row 94. Jiho's heart sank.
Yes.
Section Z was at the very back, behind even the smallest aliens. Row 94 was the last row in the hall. The message was clear. Humans were considered the weakest species in the galaxy as they walked to their seats. Jiho noticed how other aliens looked at them. The big predators ignored them completely. The medium-sized ones watched them with curious eyes. The small ones seemed surprised to see someone even lower than them in the ranking. Ji-Ho sat down in his tiny seat. From here, he could barely see the stage at the front. He felt like a child in a room full of adults. The meeting began when a creature made of living crystal walked onto the stage. This was Velinara, the council mediator. She was 8 feet tall, and her body sparkled with different colors when she moved. "Welcome, beings of the galaxy," Velinara said. Her voice was like music. "Today we discuss the application of the species, called humans to join our council." Jiho sat up straighter. This was it. This was why he had come so far from home. "The humans come from a small planet called Earth," Velinara continued. "They are new to space travel. They have no natural weapons. No thick skin, no sharp claws. They are small and weak." Each word felt like a punch to Jiho's stomach. He knew it was true, but hearing it said in front of everyone made it worse. However, Velinara said, "They have requested to join us. We must decide if they are worthy." From the front rows, a deep voice rumbled like thunder. "Why should we care about such weak creatures?" Jiho looked toward the sound and saw something that made his blood freeze. In the very front row sat the biggest alien he had ever seen. It was 12 feet tall with dark green scales. Its arms were as thick as tree trunks. Its claws were longer than Jiho's fingers. Yellow eyes like a snake stared right at him. This was Krathver, leader of the Draknari Empire, like the file said. He was the most feared predator in the galaxy. His people were warriors who conquered planets. They were so strong that other predators feared them. The humans are too small, Crathver said. Too weak. They will be eaten by the first predator. They meet. Other big aliens nodded and made sounds of agreement. Jiho felt his face turn red with shame. That is not decided yet, Velinara said diplomatically. You must study them first. The meeting continued for hours. Different species talked about trade, territory, and war. Jiho tried to follow the discussions, but everything felt too big, too complicated. He was just a small human in a galaxy of giants. During a break, Jiho walked to the side of the hall. Other aliens moved away from him. Some looked at him like he was food. Others ignored him completely. He felt more alone than ever. Are you okay? Hajin asked, walking up beside him. I don't know if we belong here, Jiho said quietly. Look at us. We're so small, so weak. Maybe they're right. Don't say that, Taman said, joining them. We didn't come this far to give up. Gaho looked back toward the front of the hall. Crathver was still there, talking to other predators. Even from far away, Jiho could feel those yellow eyes watching him sometimes. But it wasn't the look of a hunter seeing prey. It was something else, something Jiho couldn't understand. The break ended and everyone returned to their seats. As Jiho walked back to row 94, he passed close to the predator section. Crathver's massive head turned to follow him. For a moment their eyes met. Jiho expected to see hunger or cruelty. Instead, he saw something that surprised him. The great predator's eyes showed interest. Not the interest of a hunter, but something deeper. Something almost ... respectful. Jiho took his seat, and the meeting continued. But he couldn't forget that look. Why would the most dangerous predator in the galaxy look at him with anything but contempt? As the session ended, Jiho felt confused and tired. The other aliens left quickly, talking among themselves. The humans were left alone in the empty hall. Tomorrow we present our case, Taman said. We need to show them why humanity deserves a place here. Jiho nodded, but inside he wondered, how could the smallest species in the room ever prove they belonged among giants? As they walked toward the exit, Jiho didn't notice the massive figure still sitting in the front row, watching them leave with thoughtful yellow eyes. Jiho walked alone through the recreation deck of the space station. The meeting had ended hours ago, but he couldn't sleep. His mind kept thinking about all those eyes staring at him. All those aliens who saw humans as weak and useless. The recreation deck was huge, with plants from different worlds and strange animals in glass boxes. Soft music played from hidden speakers. It was supposed to be relaxing, but Jiho felt more nervous than ever. He sat down on a bench near a fountain that sprayed purple water. The water made pretty patterns in the air, but Jiho barely noticed. He was too busy thinking about tomorrow's presentation. How could he convince 47 different species that humans deserved respect? You look sad, small one. Jiho jumped and turned around. A young alien stood behind him. It looked like a smaller version of Crathver, but only 8 feet tall. It had the same green scales and yellow eyes, but its claws were shorter and its teeth less sharp. I'm sorry, Jiho said, standing up quickly. I didn't mean to take your spot. The young alien tilted its head. You didn't take anything. Saw you sitting alone? Are you the human diplomat? Jiho nodded. Yes, I'm Jehoiakim. I am Miktar, the alien said. I am Draknari, like my father. Your father? Oh, Ko asked. Crathver is my father, Miktar said quietly. The one who said your people are too weak. Jiho felt his face turn red. Oh, I see. Don't be angry, Miktar said quickly. My father says many things. Doesn't always mean them the way they sound. Before Jiho could answer, loud voices came from across the deck. 3 aliens were walking toward them. They were bigger than Miktar, but smaller than Krathfer. One looked like a bear with 6 arms. Another had blue fur and long teeth. The third was covered in spikes and had red eyes. "Look what we found," the bear-like alien said with a nasty laugh. The weak little Drachnarian, his new pet. Miktar stepped back. Jiho could see fear in his yellow eyes. "Leave us alone, Gorth," Miktar said. "We're not bothering anyone." "Oh, but you are bothering us," said the blue-furred alien. "You're bothering us just by being here. A Drachnari who can't even grow proper claws. And a human who's so small we might step on him by accident." Jiho realized what was happening. These aliens were bullies. They picked on anyone weaker than them. Right now, that was Miktar and him. "Your father isn't here to protect you, little lizard," Gorth said, moving closer to Miktar. "Maybe we should teach you what real strength looks like. And maybe we should squash this human bug while we're at it." The spiky alien added. Jiho watched Miktar back away from the 3 bullies. The young Drachnari was scared, but he was trying to hide it. Jiho remembered being bullied at school. When he was young, he remembered how it felt to be afraid and alone. Something inside Jiho's chest grew warm and angry. These aliens thought they could hurt others just because they were bigger. They thought being small meant being worthless. They were wrong. "Hey," Jiho said, stepping forward. "Leave him alone." All 4 aliens stared at him. Gorth laughed so hard that spit flew from his mouth. "Did the little human just tell us what to do?" Gorth asked. "I think it did. How cute." "I'm serious," Jiho said. "Miktar didn't do anything wrong. Neither did I. If you want to fight someone, fight me. Leave him out of it." Miktar's eyes grew wide. "Jiho, no. They'll hurt you." "Listen to your friend, Bug," the blue-furred alien said. "We could break you with 1 finger." "Maybe," Jiho said. "But I won't let you hurt him." Jiho moved to stand. Between Miktar and the 3 bullies, he was tiny compared to them. His head barely reached Gorth's stomach. But he stood straight and looked them in the eyes. "You're brave for something so small," Gorth said, "but bravery won't save you." 3 aliens moved closer. Jiho's heart was beating fast, but he didn't move. He had studied these aliens during the trip to the station. He knew their weak spots. He knew how they moved. If he was going to lose this fight, he would make it count. "You know what?" Gorth said. "Let's see how tough this human really is." Gorth raised his massive fist. Jiho got ready to dodge and maybe land 1 good punch before they crushed him. But then a sound made everyone freeze. It was a roar. Not just any roar, but the deep, terrifying sound of an apex predator. The sound came from behind Jiho, and it was so loud that the purple fountain stopped working. Everyone turned to look. Krathfer stood at the entrance to the recreation deck. His yellow eyes were burning with anger. His claws were out, and his teeth were showing. He looked like death itself. "What?" Krathfer said in a voice like rolling thunder, "is happening here?" The 3 bullies immediately backed away from Jiho and Miktar. Gorth's 6 arms shook with fear. Blue-furred aliens. Teeth chattered. The spiky one tried to hide behind his friends. "Nothing great, Krathfer," Gorth said quickly. "We were just talking. Krathfer's voice got deeper. "It looked like 3 cowards threatening my son and his friend." "We didn't know the human was your friend," the blue-furred alien said. "He's not my friend," Krathfer said. "But he was protecting my son, while you 3 were threatening him." Krathfer walked closer. Each step made the deck shake. The 3 bullies looked like they wanted to run, but they were too scared to move. "You," Krathfer said to Gorth, "are twice the size of this human. You," he said to the blue-furred alien, "have claws and teeth," he said to the spiky one, "have armor and spikes. And yet this small, weak human stood between you and my son. Why?" "Because," Jiho said quietly, "someone had to." Krathfer's massive head turned to look at Jiho. For a moment, the great predator's eyes were soft instead of angry. "Someone had to," Krathfer repeated. "Yes, someone had to." He looked back at the 3 bullies. "Leave now. If I see you near my son again, I will show you what a real predator." Looks like the 3 aliens ran away as fast as they could. Their footsteps echoed through the deck until they were gone. Jiho suddenly felt very tired. His legs were shaking, and his hands were wet with sweat. He had just stood up to 3 aliens who could have killed him easily. "Are you hurt?" Krathver asked. "No," Jiho said. "I'm okay." "You're bleeding," Miktar said, pointing to Jiho's arm. Ji-Ho looked down. One of the bullies had scratched him with a claw. The cut wasn't deep, but it was bleeding. "Come," Krathver said. We go to the medical bay. The medical bay was clean and white. Dr. Unisiohan, the human medic, cleaned Jiho's wound and put a bandage on it. She didn't ask questions, but Jiho could see worry in her eyes. Krathver sat in a chair that was too small for him. Miktar sat next to Jiho, looking guilty. "I'm sorry," Miktar said. "This is my fault. If I was stronger, you wouldn't have been hurt." "It's not your fault," Jiho said. "Bullies are bullies. They pick on anyone they think is weak. But I am weak," Miktar said sadly. "I'm the smallest Draknari in my age group. My claws are short. My teeth are dull. Their young Draknari laugh at me. Being small doesn't make you weak," Jiho said. "I'm the smallest person in the assembly hall, but I'm here representing my entire species. Size isn't everything." Krathver had been quiet during this conversation. Now he spoke. "The human is right," he said. "Size is not everything. Today, a small human with no claws and no armor stood between 3 predators and my son. That takes more than size. That takes courage." Jiho felt surprised. Was Krathver actually saying something nice about humans? "Why did you do it?" Krathver asked Jiho directly. "'Cause it was right," Jiho said simply. "Miktar didn't deserve to be hurt. I couldn't just watch." Krathver stared at Jiho for a long moment. Something changed in his yellow eyes. They became warmer, more thoughtful. "Interesting," Krathver said quietly. "Very interesting." After the doctor finished, Krathver and Miktar walked Jiho back to the human quarters. At the door, the great predator stopped and looked down at Jiho. "Mara's presentation," Krathver said. "I will listen carefully." "Thank you, Jiho." "Said no," Krathver said. "Thank you. For protecting my son. For showing him what real courage looks like." As they walked away, Jiho heard Miktar ask his father a question in their own language. Krathver's answer was too quiet to hear, but Jiho thought he heard one word he recognized. "Brother." "Wow, but that couldn't be right, could it?" Jiho woke up early the next morning. His arm still hurt from the scratch, but he felt different, less scared. Yesterday, he had stood up to 3 aliens who could have killed him. Today, he had to convince the entire galaxy that humans deserved respect. A soft knock came at his door. Ko opened it and was surprised to see Miktar standing there. "Good morning," the young Draknari said. "My father wants to talk to you. Will you come?" Jiho followed Miktar through the station's corridors. They walked to a section he had never seen before. The walls were made of black metal, and the air was warmer. This was the Draknari embassy. Krathver was sitting at a table that looked too small for him. In front of him were 2 cups of something that smelled like coffee, but was purple instead of brown. "Sit," Krathver said. "Drink. We need to talk." Jiho sat down carefully. The chair was built for someone bigger than him, so his feet barely touched the floor. He picked up the cup and took a sip. The drink was bitter but good. "You saved my son yesterday," Krathver said. "In my culture, that creates a debt." "You don't owe me anything," Jiho said. "I did what anyone would do." "No," Krathver said firmly. "You did what a warrior would do, what a protector would do. Not everyone would stand between 3 predators and someone they barely knew." Krathver leaned forward. His yellow eyes were serious, but not scary anymore. "Tell me about your people," he said. "Not the official reports. The truth. What are humans really like?" Jiho thought for a moment. "We're small. We're weak. We don't have claws or thick skin, but we care about each other. We protect the ones who can't protect themselves. We don't give up, even when things look impossible. If someone threatens your family," Krathver asked. "We fight," Jiho said without hesitation. "We might lose, but we fight." Krathvor nodded slowly. "Good. That is what I hoped you would say. Why?" Jiho asked. "'Cause," Krathver said, "my people value courage above all else. We respect those who protect others. We honor those who stand up to bullies, even when they have no chance of winning. Miktar, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. Father, tell him about the challenge. Crathver's face grew dark. There is a problem, young. Human. My rival, Thax of the Saber clan, heard about yesterday's incident. He says, I am going soft. He says I am being fooled by weak creatures who only pretend to be brave. What does that mean? Jeho asked. It means, Crathver said, that Thax has called for a formal challenge. He wants to prove that humans are unworthy of joining the council. Jeho felt cold inside. What kind of challenge? A trial by combat, Crathver said. One human must face a test of survival. If the human fails, your species will be rejected by the council forever. If the human succeeds, you will be accepted as equals. What's the test? Jeho asked, though he was afraid of the answer. You must survive alone in the combat arena for 10 minutes against a Nexus stalker, Crathver said. It is a creature. Built for hunting, it has no mercy, no fear, and no weakness. Jeho's hands started shaking. And if I fail? If you fail, Crathver said quietly, you die, and humanity loses its chance to join the galaxy. The room was silent for a long moment. Jeho stared at the purple drink in his cup. 10 minutes against a killing machine, the fate of his entire species depending on him. I'll do it, Jeho said. You don't understand, Miktar said urgently. The Nexus stalker is 12 feet tall. It has razor-sharp claws and teeth like knives. It was created to kill. No one has ever survived 10 minutes against it. I have to try, Jeho said. What choice do I have? Crathver studied Jeho's face. You are afraid. Yes, Jeho admitted. I'm terrified. Good, Crathver said. Fear keeps you alive. You are still willing to fight? Yes. Why? Jeho thought about his answer. Because someone has to. Because billions of people on Earth are counting on me. Because if I don't try, we'll never know if humans really belong out here. Crathver was quiet for a long time. Then he did something that shocked Jeho. The great predator smiled, showing all his sharp teeth. You know what the greatest strength of a Drachnary warrior is? Crathver asked. Your size? Your claws? Jeho guessed. No, Crathver said. Our greatest strength is knowing when to fight and when to protect. Yesterday, you showed me that humans understand this too. Crathver stood up and walked to a wall covered in weapons. He picked up a small blade and brought it back to the table. This is a Drachnary honor blade, he said. It belonged to my father, and his father before him. I want you to have it. Jeho stared at the blade. It was beautiful, with a curved edge and a handle covered in symbols he couldn't read. I can't take this, Jeho said. It's too valuable. Can and you will, Crathver said, because you are going to need it. And because, ... Double quotes, he paused and looked at Miktar. Because you are my little brother now. Jeho's eyes went wide. What? In Drachnary culture, Crathver explained, we have a saying, blood makes you related, but loyalty makes you family. You protected my son. You showed courage when facing impossible odds. You are willing to die for your people. These are the qualities of a true warrior, a true brother. But I'm not Drachnary, Jeho said. No, Crathver said. You are something better. You are human. And humans, I am learning, have their own kind of strength. Miktar grinned, showing his young teeth. I always wanted a human brother. The trial is tomorrow, Crathver said. Today, I will teach you how to survive. I will show you how to think. Like a predator, how to move like a warrior, and how to use your human advantages against a creature built for killing. I have advantages? Jeho asked. Oh yes, Crathver said, his eyes glowing with excitement. You are small, so you are fast. You are weak, so you must be smart. You are human, so you never give up. The Nexus Stalker is strong, but it is also stupid. It knows only how to hunt and kill, but you, ... you know how to think. They spent the rest of the morning in the Drachnary training room. Crathver taught Jeho how to dodge, how to roll, how to use his size to his advantage. He showed him weak spots on predators and how to strike quickly and run away. Remember, Crathver said, you don't have to kill the stalker. You just have to survive. Use the arena. Use the walls. Use anything you can find. The creature is strong, but the environment can be your friend. In the afternoon, news of the challenge spread through the station. Aliens from every species came to watch. Some wanted to see the human fail. Others were curious about what humans could do. Kyung Ho Yoon, the human military attach, found Ji-ho in the training room. Are you crazy? Kyung Ho asked. You're going to get yourself killed? Maybe, Ji-ho said.
No.
But if I don't try, humanity will never be accepted. We'll always be seen as the weak species that was too scared to fight. There has to be another way, Kyung Ho said. There isn't, Ji-ho said. This is how their culture works. Strength is everything. If I can prove that humans have strength, even if it's different from theirs, maybe they'll respect us. That evening, Ji-ho's sister Yoonji called from Earth. Her face appeared on the communication screen, worried and scared. I heard about the challenge, she said. Please don't do this. I'll come home. I can't, Ji-ho said. Everyone on Earth is counting on me. If I fail, we'll never be part of the galactic community. We'll always be alone. I'd rather have you alive and alone than dead and respected, Yoonji said, tears in her eyes. I won't die, Ji-ho said, trying to sound confident. I have a plan. What plan? I'll think of something, Ji-ho said. I always do. After the call ended, Ji-ho sat alone in his room. Tomorrow, he would face a creature designed to kill him. The entire galaxy would be watching. If he failed, humanity would be rejected forever, but he wasn't completely alone. Crathver had called him little brother. 12-foot-tall apex predator had seen something in a small human diplomat that was worth respecting. It had to count. For something, J.D.H. Ho picked up the honor blade and held it in his hands. It was lighter than he expected, perfectly balanced. On the handle, he could see the symbols that told the story of Crathver's family. Tomorrow, he would add his own story to that blade. He would show the galaxy that humans might be small, but they were not weak. They were not cowards. They were survivors. And maybe, just maybe, they deserved to be part of something bigger than themselves. The next morning would bring the greatest challenge of his life. But tonight, Ji-ho felt something he hadn't felt since arriving at the station. He felt like he belonged. The grand arena was the biggest room Ji-ho had ever seen. It was round like a bowl, with seats going up so high they disappeared into darkness. Thousands of aliens filled every seat. Their voices created a sound like ocean waves. Ji-ho stood at the entrance to the arena floor. His hands were sweating and his heart was beating so fast he thought it might explode. The honor blade hung at his side, feeling heavier than it should. Are you ready? Asked Jae-won Shin, the human strategist. He had come to watch along with the rest of the human team. No, Ji-ho said honestly, but I'm going anyway. The arena floor was made of sand and rocks. There were metal pillars scattered, around each one as thick as a tree trunk. Some reached all the way to the ceiling. Others were broken off halfway up. This was where Ji-ho would have to survive for 10 minutes. In the center of the arena sat Council Elder Morden. He was older than any creature Ji-ho had ever seen. His body looked like it was made of ancient wood, with moss growing on his shoulders. When he spoke, his voice was like wind through mountains. Citizens of the galaxy, Morden said. Today we witness a trial by combat. The human Ji-ho Kim will face the Nexus Stalker. If he survives 10 minutes, humanity will be accepted into our council. If he fails, they will be rejected forever. The crowd grew quiet. Ji-ho could feel thousands of eyes watching him. Some aliens wanted him to win. Others wanted him to fail. Most just wanted to see what would happen. Human Morden called. You accept this challenge freely? Yes, Ji-ho said. His voice sounded small in the huge arena. Then enter the arena and face your trial. Ji-ho walked onto the sand. Each step felt like it might be his last. Damn. Behind him, he heard Crathver's deep voice. Remember, little brother? You are not here to be a hero. You are here to survive. Use your brain. Use your speed. Use everything I taught you. Jiho nodded without turning around. He walked to the center of the arena and waited. A loud horn sounded. On the far side of the arena, a gate opened. What came out made Jiho's blood turn to ice. The Nexus Stalker was everything the reports had said, and worse. It was 12 feet tall and built like a nightmare. Its body was covered in black scales that looked like armor. Its arms were longer than Jiho's entire body, ending in claws that could cut through metal. Its head was shaped like a wolf's, but with 3 rows of teeth and glowing red eyes. But the worst part was how it moved. Despite its size, the stalker was fast. It flowed across the sand like liquid death. Its eyes locked on Jiho. The crowd exploded with noise. Some aliens cheered. Others gasped in fear. Jiho ignored them all. He had 10 minutes to stay alive. The stalker circled him slowly, studying him like a cat studies a mouse. Jiho remembered Krathver's training. Don't run yet. Wait. Watch. Learn how it moves. The creature was huge and strong, but Jiho noticed something. It moved in straight lines. When it turned, it had to slow down. Its claws were deadly, but they were also heavy. Its eyes, its eyes never looked up. The stalker suddenly charged. Jiho dove to the right, rolling behind one of the metal pillars. The creature's claws sparked against the metal where his head had been a second before. 1 minute down. 9 to go. The stalker turned and charged again. This time Jiho was ready. He ran straight at the pillar, jumped up and grabbed a rough spot in the metal. The creature crashed into the pillar. Below him, shaking the whole thing. He's climbing. Someone in the crowd shouted. G-Ho pulled himself up the pillar as fast as he could. The stalker tried to follow, but its claws couldn't grip the smooth metal. Roared in anger and started hitting the pillar with its fists. From up high, Jiho could see the whole arena. He noticed something important. Some of the broken pillars had sharp, jagged edges. If he could get the stalker to charge into one of those, but first, he had to get down without being caught. The stalker was still hitting the pillar, trying to knock it over. Jiho waited until the creature was directly below him. Then he pulled out the honor blade and dropped it. The small blade bounced off the stalker's thick scales harmlessly. But it surprised the creature. For just a moment, it looked up. In that moment, Jiho jumped. He landed on the stalker's back and immediately jumped off again. Rolling across the sand toward another pillar, the creature spun around, confused and angry. 3 minutes down. 7 to go now. Jiho ran. It's not away from the stalker, but toward the broken pillar with the sharp edge. The creature chased him, getting faster and angrier with each step. Jiho reached the pillar and dove to the side at the last second. The stalker couldn't stop in time, crashed into the jagged metal edge, cutting a deep line across its chest. The creature screamed in pain and rage. Black blood dripped onto the sand. For the first time since the trial began, it had been hurt. The crowd was going crazy. Aliens were standing up and shouting. Some were cheering for Jiho. Others were angry that a human had wounded the mighty stalker. 5 minutes down. 5 to go, but now the stalker was different. The pain had made it smarter, more careful, stopped charging blindly and started hunting properly. It moved in slow circles, cutting off Jiho's escape routes. Jiho ran from pillar to pillar, always staying just ahead of the creature's claws. But he was getting tired. His legs felt heavy and his lungs burned. The stalker, despite its wound, seemed to have unlimited energy. 7 minutes down. 3 to go. The creature cornered Jiho near the arena wall. There was nowhere left to run. The stalker raised its massive claws, ready to end the trial. But Jiho remembered something Krathver had said. The environment can be your friend. He looked up at the wall behind him. It was made of smooth stone, impossible to climb. But there were gaps between the stones. Small gaps. Too small for the stalker, but just big enough for a human. As the claws came down, Jiho threw himself into one of the gaps. The stalker's claws scraped against stone, sending sparks flying. Jiho was pressed into the narrow space, safe but trapped. The stalker tried to reach him, but its arms were too big. It roared and clawed at the wall, but it couldn't get to him. 8 minutes down. 2 to go, but Jeho couldn't stay in the gap forever. He needed a plan. The stalker was guarding the opening, waiting for him to come out. Then Jeho noticed something. The creature's wound was bleeding badly. The black blood was making a puddle on the sand. The stalker was getting weaker. And there was something else. The honor blade was lying on the sand where he had dropped it. If he could reach it. 9 minutes down. 1 to go. Jeho took a deep breath and burst out of the gap. The stalker swung at him, but its movements were slower now. Jeho ducked under the claws and dove for the blade. The stalker turned to follow him, but as it moved, it slipped on its own blood. The huge creature crashed to the sand, stunned. Jeho grabbed the honor blade and ran as far away as he could. 30 seconds left. The stalker got back up, shaking its head. It looked at Jeho with pure hatred. It gathered itself for one final charge. 20 seconds left. The creature ran straight at Jeho, all claws and teeth and rage. Jeho stood perfectly still, holding the blade ready. 10 seconds left at the last moment. Jeho did something no one expected. Instead of dodging or running, he dropped the blade and opened his arms wide. 5 seconds left. The stalker's charge faltered. It stopped just inches from Jeho, confused. This wasn't how prey was supposed to act. Prey was supposed to run or fight, not stand still and open its arms. Time. The horn sounded, echoing through the arena. Jeho had survived 10 minutes. The stalker stepped back, tilting its head like a curious dog. It looked at Jeho for a long moment, then did something incredible. It sat down on the sand and made a sound that was almost like purring. The arena was completely silent. No one could believe what they had just seen. A human had not only survived the Nexus stalker, he had somehow calmed it. Elder Morden's ancient voice broke the silence. The trial is complete. The human has survived. By the laws of our council, humanity is accepted as a full member species. The arena exploded with noise. Aliens were cheering, arguing, and shouting all at once, but Jeho barely heard them. Was too busy staring at the stalker, which was now lying on its side like a giant, deadly pet. From the stands, a roar rose above all other sounds. Krathra was standing in the front row, his arms raised in victory. "Little brother," the great predator bellowed. "Oh, well done, little brother." Other apex predators began to roar too, not in anger, but in approval. They had witnessed something they had never seen before. A creature smaller and weaker than themselves had shown courage, intelligence, and something else. Mercy Jeho had won not by killing or dominating, by showing the stalker that not everything had to end in violence. That sometimes the strongest thing you could do was choose not to fight. As the arena began to empty, Krathra and Miktar ran onto the sand. The big Draknari picked Jeho up in a hug that could have crushed him. "How?" Krathra asked. "How did you calm the stalker?" "I remembered what you said," Jeho replied. "That the greatest strength is knowing when to fight and when to protect. I realized the stalker wasn't my enemy. It was just doing what it was made to do, so I showed it that I wasn't a threat." Krathra set Jeho down and looked at him with something like wonder. "You know what you have done, little brother?" Krathra said. "You have changed everything. You have shown the galaxy that there is more than one kind of strength." Jeho picked up the honor blade and offered it back to Krathra. "Keep it," the big predator said. "You have earned it. You are my brother now, in every way that matters." As they walked out of the arena together, Jeho felt different. He was still the smallest person in the room, but for the first time since arriving at the station, he didn't feel small. He felt like he belonged. 3 weeks had passed since the trial by combat. Jeho stood in the council chambers, but everything was different now. His seat was no longer in the back row with the weakest species. The council had given humans a place in the middle sections, next to species that were respected for their intelligence and courage. But the biggest change wasn't where Jeho sat. It was how the other aliens looked at him. Ambassador Nari Kong had arrived from Earth 2 days ago to take over as the official human representative. She was older and more experienced than Jeho, but even she seemed amazed by what had happened. "I can't believe it," she whispered to Jeho as they waited for the session to begin. The report said you actually made friends with the apex predators. Jiho looked toward the front rows where Krathver sat. The big Draknari caught his eye and nodded. Next to him, Miktar waved with one clawed hand. Not friends, Jiho said. Family. The session began with Elder Morden announcing new trade agreements. But Jiho noticed something interesting. When smaller species spoke, the big predators actually listened now. Before his trial, they would ignore anyone weaker than themselves. Now they paid attention. During the break, a small blue alien approached. Jiho nervously. It was barely 3 feet tall, with big eyes and thin arms. "Excuse me?" the alien said in a squeaky voice. "Are you the human who faced the stalker?" "Yes," Jiho said. "I'm Jiho Kim." "I am Pip from the Solani Union," the alien said. "My people... ... We wanted to thank you." "Thank me? Why?" "Because you showed everyone that being small doesn't mean being weak," Pip said. "Since your trial, the bigger species treat us with more respect. They listen to our ideas now." More small aliens gathered around Jiho. They all had similar stories. Predators were no longer ignoring them or treating them like food. Some had even been invited to important meetings. "You changed things," said another small alien. "Prove that courage comes in all sizes." Jiho felt warm inside. He had hoped to help humanity join the council. He hadn't expected to help other small species too. "Jiho," a familiar voice called. Miktar was walking over, followed by 3 other young Draknari. They were all around his age, but bigger and stronger looking. "These are my friends from home," Miktar said proudly. "Dal, Jor, and Vex. They came to meet my human brother." The 3 young Draknari stared at Jiho with curious eyes. Dal, the biggest one, spoke first. "You are much smaller than I expected," he said. "Most humans are," Jiho replied with a smile. "But you defeated the stalker," Jor said, sounding confused. "How?" "I didn't defeat it," Jiho explained. "I survived. Then I showed it that we didn't have to be enemies." "Impossible," Vex said. "The stalker knows only how to kill." "Everything knows more than just killing," Jiho said. "Sometimes we just have to help them remember." The young Draknari exchanged glances. This was clearly not how they thought about fighting. "Will you teach us?" Dal asked suddenly. "Will you show us these human ways of thinking?" Before Jiho could answer, Krathver's deep voice interrupted. "That is an excellent idea," the big predator said, walking up to the group. "My son has learned much from his human brother. Perhaps you could all benefit from such lessons." Father Miktar said, "I told them about the meditation techniques Jiho taught me, about thinking before fighting." "And what did you think of these ideas?" Krathver asked his son's friends. "They are strange," Dal admitted, "but useful." "Miktar has become much calmer since learning them, much wiser." "Wisdom is the greatest strength of all," Krathver said. "Something humans understand very well." Later that evening, Jiho found himself in the strangest classroom he had ever seen. 20 young Draknari sat in a circle around him, all listening. Carefully as he talked about human philosophy, "On Earth," Jiho said, "we have a saying. The strongest person is not the one who wins every fight. The strongest person is the one who helps others become strong too." A young female Draknari named Zara raised her clawed hand. "But if you make others strong, won't they challenge you?" "Maybe," Jiho said. "But if they do, it will be a fair fight between equals. And if they don't, you will have friends instead of enemies. Which would you rather have?" The young Draknari thought about this. It was clearly a new idea for them. "On my world," another young Draknari said, "we are taught that showing mercy is weakness. Is it?" Jiho asked. "When I showed mercy to the stalker, what happened?" "It calmed down," the Draknari admitted. "And was I stronger or weaker after that?" "Stronger," the Draknari said slowly, "because you had control without violence." "Exactly," Jiho said. "Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is choose not to use your strength." These lessons continued for days. Word spread through the station, and soon aliens from other species wanted to attend to. Jiho found himself teaching not just Draknari, but crystal beings, furry mammals, and even some of the medium-sized predators. The most surprising student was Thax, Crathfur's rival who had called for the trial in the first place. The big Drachnary sat in the back of the classroom, listening but never speaking. After one lesson about resolving conflicts peacefully, Thax approached Jiho. "Human," he said in his gravelly voice. "I owe you an apology." "You don't owe me anything," Jiho said. "I do," Thax insisted. "I called you weak. I demanded the trial because I thought you would fail and prove that small species had no value. I was wrong." "What changed your mind?" Jiho asked. "My grandson," Thax said. "Lessons." He came home talking about these new ideas, about thinking before fighting, about helping others instead of dominating them. Yesterday, he prevented a fight between two young Drachnary by talking to them instead of using his claws. Thax looked down at Jiho with something like wonder in his eyes. He showed mercy to someone weaker than him, Thax continued. And instead of being mocked for weakness, the other young ones respected him more. "I've never seen anything like it." "Your grandson sounds wise," Jiho said. "He learned it from you," Thax said. "You have given him something I could not. You have shown him that there are many ways to be strong." 1 month after the trial, the council held a special ceremony. They were creating a new position, Galactic Mediator for Interspecies Understanding. The job was to help different species learn to work together better. Elder Morden stood at the center of the chamber. "This position requires someone who understands both strength and mercy," the ancient being said. "Someone who can bridge the gap between predator and prey, large and small, old ways and new ways." Jiho had a feeling he knew where this was going. "Offer this position to Jiho Kim of Earth," Morden announced. "Will you accept?" The chamber was silent. Every alien was looking at Jiho. The front row, Crathfur was grinning, showing all his sharp teeth. Miktar was bouncing excitedly in his seat. "I accept," Jiho said, "but I have one condition." "Condition?" Morden asked. "Oh. I want to work with a partner," Jiho said. "One who understands predator culture as well as I understand peaceful solutions." "Who do you suggest?" Jiho looked at Crathfur. "I suggest my brother." The big Drachnary's eyes went wide with surprise. Then he stood up, all 12 feet of him, and roared with joy. "I accept," Crathfur bellowed, "and it would be an honor to serve. Beside my little brother." The chamber erupted in noise. Some aliens cheered. Others seemed shocked. But gradually more and more voices joined in approval. 6 months later, Ho stood in his new office, looking out at the stars. His desk was covered with reports from across the galaxy. Conflicts resolved through talking instead of fighting. Trade agreements between species that had never cooperated before. Young predators learning to protect instead of hunt. A knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in," he called. Miktar entered, carrying a datapad. He was taller now, his scales darker and his claws sharper. But his eyes were still kind. "The morning reports, Brother," Miktar said, setting the pad on Jiho's desk. "Thank you," Jiho said. "Any emergencies?" 3 conflicts resolved peacefully using your techniques," Miktar said proudly. 2 new species requesting mediation, training, and 1 very interesting development. "What's that?" "The Nexus Stalker has been adopted by the Solani Union," Miktar said with a grin. "They're training it to be a protector instead of a hunter. Apparently, your mercy made quite an impression." Jiho laughed. "I should visit them sometime." "See how my old friend is doing," our old friend Miktar corrected. "Don't forget I was there too. How could I forget?" Jiho said. "You're the one who introduced us." Later that day, Crathfur returned from a mission to the Outer Worlds. The big Drachnary looked tired but happy. "How did it go?" Jiho asked. "Better than expected," Crathfur said, settling into his oversized chair. "The Bone Crusher clan and the Shell Walker Federation have agreed to share the mining rights on Kepler 7. No violence needed." "What convinced them?" "I told them about my little brother," Crathfur said with a smile. "About how the smallest person in the galaxy taught the biggest predator that there are. Better ways to solve problems than fighting, and they believed." They did when I showed them the video of your trial," Crathfur said. Funny how calming a killer monster makes people listen to your ideas about peace. That evening, the three of them, Jiho, Krathra, and Miktar, sat together in the observation deck, watching the stars. Ships from dozens of worlds passed by outside, carrying trade goods and diplomatic messages instead of weapons and threats. "Do you ever miss Earth?" Miktar asked. "Sometimes," Jiho said. "But this feels like home now, too." "It's because family isn't about where you come from," Krathra said. "It's about who you choose to stand with." "Even when they're 12 feet tall and covered in scales?" Jiho asked with a grin. "Especially then," Krathra replied, gently ruffling Jiho's hair with one massive claw. Jiho looked out at the stars and thought about how much had changed. A year ago, he had been the smallest species in the room, feeling weak and unwanted. Now he was still the smallest, but size didn't matter anymore. He had learned something important. Being little brother to an apex predator wasn't about being small or protected. It was about being valued for who you were, not what you looked like. It was about earning respect through courage and kindness instead of strength and fear. Most importantly, it was about proving that in a galaxy full of different creatures, the best strength of all was the strength to bring everyone together. "Ready for tomorrow's mission?" Krathvar asked. "Always," Jiho said. "What's next?" "The crystal spiders and the metal wasps are having territory disputes near the Vega system," Miktar said. "They've requested our mediation." "Sounds dangerous," Jiho said. "It will be," Krathvar agreed. "But we'll face it together, the three of us, brothers." "Brothers," Jiho repeated. And for the first time since leaving Earth, he felt truly at peace. Outside the window, the stars shone bright, full of worlds where big and small species were learning to live together. And somewhere among those stars, small human diplomat and his giant reptilian brother were making the galaxy a little bit better, one conversation at a time.